How are y'all doing today, everyone? I'm ShadowRock, and today we got a special guest, Daniel Arseneault, in the house, otherwise known as Protoman. Daniel, please tell us, tell us a little bit about yourself and what's your role in terms of UDON's Mega Man comics.
So my name is Daniel Arseneault, better known as Protoman, mostly in the Transformer community. In the Mega Man community, I just go by my full name because if I called myself Protoman, that'd be confusing. I have been a Mega Man fan my entire life, and I've been part of the online community going back as the early days of the 90s, of the early days of the internet, through Mega Man Man in Blue. That was the old IRC communities of Mega Man back in the day, and I've just been someone that's been a writer for various robot-related fictional brands. Most people know me for Transformers, whether it be the packaging of figures and their stories, or comic book stuff, or convention exclusives. People probably notice in the background here is a lot of robots in the skies back there.
Very nice collection.
But yeah, quite a bit, quite a bit. But my second passion has always been Mega Man. Again, thus my screen name that I've always had being Protoman. And I am the head writer of the Mega Man X books. So right now we have just the one-shot, which we'll get into in a moment. What's the whole story with that and all the other one-shots. But I am the writer for the Mega Man X book and the curator of what will be moving forward, hopefully, for Rokuman Xu and his future, and Zero.
Awesome. And actually, could you tell us the lore behind Protoman, like your username, like how you came up with it and everything?
So funny story. So I might as well talk about how I got even into Mega Man. So it was like fall of 1989. I'm an old man, so fall of 1989, rented Mega Man 2 as a kid. We were too poor to buy games, but we rented Mega Man 2. I rented it with a friend of mine. And the only reason why we rented that game was we looked at the back of the box and it shows the character select for the Robot Masters. And we thought, and this is like Mario 2 logic, oh, that's the characters you could choose to play as, right? So it's like, oh my God, you could play as like 8 different characters? That's amazing. So we brought home the game and I picked Flashman. And so when you pick Flashman, oh, Flashman's blue. So then Mega Man spawns in on Flashman's stage. And I thought, oh, okay, I guess I'm playing as Flashman, right? Play. I didn't get to the end. I died. Too slippery as a kid. My friend then picks Metal Man. Blue guy spawns in again. And we're like, whoa, wait, what's going on here? Didn't dawn on us until, oh, you're picking your levels. It's not like Mario 2 where you picked, Princess Toadstool, Peach, Toad and Luigi on top of Mario. So, but after my friend left, the game was still rented. I played it like crazy, fell in love with it. I mean, Mega Man 2, come on. Like just the most amazing music ever. Protoman was born out of kind of a funny thing because when Mega Man 3 came out, I went to a friend's birthday party. He got it for his birthday. I don't know how he knew anyone who knows the Controller 2 debug trick with the jump and everything. But like they beat the game that day because they had that debug trick. I guess he had Nintendo Power or something. I don't know to this day how he knew it so early. But he beat the game, and at the end, like you truly see the name Protoman for the first time in the end credits with the Dr. Wily files. And I was just like, that's so cool. Like, because I was a big fan of Speed Racer as a kid, so I was like, oh, that's kind of like Racer X. It's his hidden, brother that he thinks is gone but is not. And so I always thought that character was very cool. When the cartoon came out by Ruby Spears, Scott Neal's portrayal of Protoman was like super awesome. Like this, he's bad, but he's good. We don't know what's going on here. And so I love that design. When I got the action figure by Bandai, like I was like, this is so cool with the shades and the red and everything and the scarf. Then we fast forward to when I got the internet, and I was one of the lucky few to get the internet in like 95, 96. And back then, you were told not to use your real name. It's kind of ironic today, everyone's on Facebook, everyone uses their real names, there's no privacy. Back then you weren't supposed to use your real name. You used a screen name, you hid who you were, you weren't supposed to say where you lived, oh, privacy and everything. So for whatever reason, I was like, I'm going to use Protoman. I don't know. It just was like a cool name to me. I loved that character. And the communities that I participated in, it wouldn't be confusing because I was like participating in the early days of the Transformer community and video game communities. But then I met the Mega Man community early on. And this is like a shout out to Ego Raptor, Heatman, Spectra, Zero X, different Zero X, like literally his screen name was Zero X. Like those were the early days of the Mega Man community in the 90s on IRC and stuff. And I mean, Maudie Peg, God, I could go on and on. So many of legends of the early days of the online community. And I just fell deeply into that. And then like discovering eBay and knowing I could buy Japanese Mega Man merchandise and model kits and figurines. And I went crazy. I would, oh yeah. And I was always obsessed with Mega Man. And so I always had these two passions, which were Transformers and Mega Man, just these two robot brands. And obviously one would spawn movies and Michael Bay craziness and huge franchise. And the other one would peter along and get a new game every so often. Or, you know, like I think like the last big spurt really was like the Battle Network and Star Force series, because it had anime, it had action figures in stores. It had comic books. It had like, that was like the last big, like Mega Man's everywhere. But I always stayed with it, always hoping for the next thing and the next thing. And through Transformers and working professionally with that, you make those connections with other brands. It's just the networking of the world. And, you know, even though I work with the Transformer brand, because my name was Protoman publicly, I'm literally putting on my shoulder, hey, I'm a Mega Man guy, you know, even it's like being in like the Transformer brand and calling yourself Goku. Clearly this guy loves Dragon Ball, you know, like, so people would always ask me, like, it would be confused people who didn't know Mega Man going like, oh, you're into prototypes or something? Like, what's the Protoman name? But the people who knew, they knew, you know, they knew, oh, it's, you know, it's Blues, it's Mega Man's brother. So they would always ask me. And then obviously comic book creators, companies, you know, you go to San Diego Comic-Con, we're all talking. You know, Hasbro guys are talking with the Capcom guys, are talking with the UDON guys, are talking with the Mattel guys. We all are buddies. And opportunities create themselves. They feel out who knows what and who has the talent and abilities. And I was brought on to write the Mega Man X brand and for the comics. And so that's an honorable opportunity. And again, I was chosen because they knew that I knew all the lore. They knew that I knew all the stuff. Like all I have to do is show you pictures of my Mega Man action figure collection. You're like, okay, this guy's crazy. You know, picture this with Mega Man, you know, like, so it's like, yeah, this guy's serious. He's not just some fly by night guy. It's like, oh yeah, I love Mega Man. It's my favorite of the Mario series. It's like, no, it's like, no, I have all the games. Like these were stuff I bought with my own money many years ago. Like, I love that stuff. Mega Man 11s. I mean, I hope that they do more with that because it sold so well and everything. Like, I just hope for more of that. And, you know, UDON has had a really good relationship with Capcom, with the Mega Man brand, going back easily, I want to say almost 10 years now, when they were doing the Ariga stuff and porting that over and coloring it in. And, you know, even going even more far back with like, again, going into Battle Network and stuff, and them even looking at, oh, maybe we'll port some of the books that didn't make it here and the manga stories that didn't make it here. And my relationship with UDON, no joke, goes back almost 20 years, because I had all of the Japanese mangas in their original tomes in Japanese, and I was always like, if you ever want to scan these and make English translations, and you have to understand, this is like early days of the internet 20 years ago, where you didn't have social media and everyone sharing scans and it's so easy to get stuff. I was like, I'm willing to destroy my books and cut the spine so we could scan these nicely and then make a pitch maybe. And of course, nothing ever came of it, because there's always licensing, and you know, you have to talk to the original creators, and hey, do you have to do this and that? You know, all the red tape of anything that exists when it comes to creation, why it doesn't happen so easily, even if you have the materials at your fingertips. So, you know, that started that relationship where it's like, oh, and again, we see each other at multiple shows, whether it be in Toronto for like Transformer conventions or San Diego Comic-Con, or, you know, we always see each other. And opportunities created themselves and the right fits. Again, if it's not just me, but all the other people attached to the books, like Ian and what's his name? Also, I don't want to forget anybody, but I know it was also David Oxford, who was also a very good example of the community. More so the community than good examples of people that understand the lore and the characters and would do a good job of writing a story, you know? And yeah, that's kind of how that came to be, really. And I promise the fans I won't fail you there, and I'm sure the follow-up questions I'll answer as best I can.
Awesome. Actually, who is your favorite Mega Man character? Like,
if I don't count Protoman, because that would be an easy answer, I really like some of the Robot Masters. I like Shadow Man. I like Turbo Man because he's a transforming one. I'm trying to think of like something obscure. I love some of the Game Boy guys, like Pluto, and you know, some of the Mega Killers are cool.
Oh yeah.
You know, those are all like really unique designs. It's always hard to pick one because you're always basing it off of like a design, not so much of a character, because there's very little to pull from. I mean, unless I'm looking at like the Ruby Spears cartoon, and then it's like, oh, that the way Top Man was depicted in the Ruby Spears cartoon, he's suave and cool. You would have never got that playing Mega Man 3 back in the day, you know? So like, you know, there's a lot, but again, like I felt like the combination of that Racer X character from Speed Racer combined with also how Scott McNeil portrayed him in the Ruby Spears cartoon really solidified Protoman for me. Like that, it was just, I love that character. But I mean, you know, Duo's cool in his own right, but it's like we only have like this much to pull from. You know, Zero is cool, but everyone loves Zero. You know, Zero probably has the most character development out of anything in Mega Man, just because of his backstory and then his own game series. Or even like we know less about X, we know less about Mega Man, you know, if it wasn't for comic books and stuff. Like I think Zero is probably the most developed out of every Mega Man character if you really dive deep into lore. So it's like it's kind of hard with that, but basing off of designs, I just love Shadow Man. I think he's cool, and he has a weird origin where he's like he's not created by Wily, he's actually an alien. Like there's all kinds of wacky stuff with that like was never like, you know, Inafune and the crew never really 100% solidified in their lore, but supplemental material kind of played that out, which is, you know, going into, you know, writing these comics, you have this canvas of telling a story where you could look at like the first level of Super Mario and go beginning to end until he gets that flagpole. Is there a story there? Finding that first mushroom, is there a story there? Going into that first warp pipe and finding the coins, is there a story there? Finding the one-up that's hidden, is there a story there? Finding the fire flower, is there a story there? Why is there a flagpole and then he goes into a castle? Like, you do the same thing, but you do the same thing with a Mega Man level, which we'll get into with Chill Penguin, which will come up. But, you know, is there a story there? Yes, there is. And, you know, someone, if they have that creativity, could flesh that out into 21 pages or 22 pages of a comic book, you know? So, kind of answer that.
Before we dive into the Mega Man timeline stuff, I wanted to ask, like all the Mega Man games that have come out, or maybe even just the X series, like which one's your favorite?
Oof. 2 and 3, 5 is fun. 5 is like, I think like the ape, and it's not just because Protoman's a villain, and I think that was like the apex of Mega Man games. 4 is good too. Like all of them are, and it's the moment you get the charge shot and you have that kind of adds an extra layer.
That's true.
X 1 and 2 are fantastic. 4 is great. I have a soft spot for Mega Man 8. I mean, I know people, they see the dub English, you know, Dr. Wily, you know, like, but I ignore that. You know, like I just go, oh, then watch the Japanese version then with the really good voice actors. Like, I mean, all those voice actors in the Japanese one are all professional voice actors from Dragon Ball and anime. So, like, I think the voice of Protoman is Piccolo from Dragon Ball, you know, or not Piccolo, Hot Rod from Transformers in Japan. Like, you know, so there's a lot of crossover there. So those are professional voice actors. So if you ignored the bad dub, you know, Mega Man, we got to stop, you know, like, if you have the good dub and that great intro, Electronic Communication, which we had that more, you know, audio one there, 8 is amazing. I love 8.
I love it too. Yeah.
I feel if they would have just continued, and I know it, you know, PlayStation was in a different place at the time. Everything's got to be 3D. But if they would have kept doing like Mega Man 9, anime cutscenes and continuing the story, Mega Man 10, anime cutscenes and continuing the story, not doing it in that retro 8-bit thing, but like, man, I would have loved that. Yeah, I would have loved that. But you could see, sorry, I didn't want to cut you off, but it's like you could see with X4 how they went in a different direction because of PlayStation's influence. Oh, we're not going to do anime cutscenes. It's going to be stills. It's going to be like, so the X series unfortunately shows that even if the original series would have continued, it probably would have went in that direction in terms of, I guess, cinematography, for lack of better words, you know? So, which is a shame because I love 8. I love the Battle Network series. Those were a fun, different take. The Legend series goes without saying, but I wish we just got more. I think that's the thing I always wish with the Mega Man Legend series. Even Star Force I like. Those were fun. It was a different take. The sub-worlds and stuff when you put on the glasses. You know, they all have great things. I mean, if I said boring Mega Man, like Rock Board, I guess is boring because it's just, it's Mario Party before Mario Party was a thing. I don't know. Mega Man Soccer's even fun. If you put Protoman as a goalie, he could actually block most things. Fun fact. So I mean, he's not as strong as Wily as a goalie, but you know, like even like they all have their merits. I mean, there's a reason why those games are always well celebrated. The Game Boy games are great. Like there hasn't been many Mega Man games that I could say that I played and I didn't like. You know, like I can only say like the most I could say is maybe the Star Force series or the ZX, not ZX, the Battle Network series EXE got maybe a little repetitive over time, but that's kind of the Capcom formula, where like you look at Mega Man 1 to 6, same engine more or less. You look at Street Fighter 2 and all their Champion Edition, Turbo, same engine more or less, you know. So that's kind of the Capcom formula that you kind of want to stretch it as much as you can, and we could put out as many games as we can. But that can be repetitive at a point. And so maybe, you know, there's little things here. But I'd have to say 2, X1, X2, Mega Man 8 really gets a special place. I mean, it's hard to pick one. They all have, it's really, you know, I have Command Mission. I love Command Mission. Mega Man X Command.
Heck yeah,
like,
let's go.
Why didn't we get more of that?
Right?
Again, that's storytelling. But again, I guess it didn't sell well or no one cared. You know, I played it on GameCube. It had less random encounter rates. It was fun. That's why I always say if you play it, the GameCube one, I think, is slightly better in terms of like less encounters, by slightly better graphics. But man, like, why not more of that? And again, Capcom was just in a weird place at that time, so it's hard to pick one.
I think we have some of the same taste because I also love Mega Man 8. I think like the 32-bit Mega Man games are some of my favorites from a visual standpoint. Wish they could.
Oh yeah, some of the best sprite work. You know, like. Goodness, just a lot of great stuff.
Yeah, I love me some Command Mission too. I would love to see more Mega Man RPGs in that style in general.
Yeah, I felt like they had something there, and again, like it goes back to what I said before, like to be able to tell story and lore instead of like, you know, just having the story in between. Like, oh, we beat the 8 Robot Masters or Mavericks, and then we get a chunk of story, or we get an encounter for whatever reason, a vial or something, and then we get a little couple pieces of text and tell story. Again, you could tell that lore is important to me in telling stories. So it's like, it's something that, what was great about Command Mission, there was so much of that. I mean, that's why I appreciated even Maverick Hunters for PSP, where you get to revisit a game, and I know it's going to come up, but like, you get to revisit a game and at least there's a lot of story there. You know, every character is a little more fleshed out and little things. And knowing Vile's side of it too, if you play the Vile version.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, so. But yeah.
Well, I guess it's time to get into it. So, just real quick, for those who don't know, can you explain what the upcoming Mega Man Timeline series is all about?
So, essentially, UDON is going to be doing 5 one-shots of most of, not all, but most of the Mega Man brands that have existed up to this point. Pretty much the main Mega Man timeline, to simplify, because we don't, obviously we don't have, you know, the Battle Network and the Star Force, Urusei, Rokumen stuff. So we have more just the main timeline, and they're all one-shots right now, one coming out each month. Essentially, next week is Free Comic Book Day, so you're going to have the Free Comic Book Day Mega Man book. That'll be available. that's kind of a compilation of different creators and also showing the roadmap for what is going to be the next couple of months. Like you'll have in the back, like literally a roadmap of here's everything coming. Be sure to get ready for these. And then that same month, the original series Mega Man book will debut with multiple covers and everything. And then we're going to get, then the month after that in June is my book with X. The month after that, we're going to have Zero series, ZX, and it ends with Legend series, I believe in September. Just want to double check that. I don't want to speak Godline. Yeah, September for Legend series, which is David's book. And essentially, each one of those books are their own standalone stories, but there is something connecting all of them together. I don't want to spoil it, but it's a nice little thing if you look for it. All the books are connected together in a way. And it's the same thing also. All the cover A's are all connected in that they're all boss select screens. So you kind of have that too. So you have that little connection with all the books. So you could buy those books and read them standalone, but there also is a little Easter egg in it. And there's actually, we put a lot of Easter eggs, but there's a little Easter egg in it that connects all the books together also too. There's a little something going on there, a little fun little thing, which I don't want to spoil, but you'll see it when you see it. So that's something cool too. But yeah, I think that's it more or less.
That sounds really exciting. So you talked about how Mega Man Timelines is a series of one-shot stories. Can you walk me through your brainstorming process when deciding what story to write about? Are they largely based on canonical events, or are you guys allowed to create your own original stories?
So Capcom asked me to write a pitch of some ideas of what they would like to see. And obviously I can't speak for my co-workers and their individual books and what their mindset was. Because they had their own goals and their own dreams and ambitions, and I totally respect that. Mine is I wanted to flesh out a lot of what we already had. I wanted to take the games that we already have and tell the stories, like I mentioned before, like with Super Mario, tell the stories that weren't told through the game. You know, like there's so much there. And I was inspired a lot by the X mangas that existed back in the day, where they would go off the rails, if anything. They'd be like, yeah, we're going to Chill Penguin, but here's this whole crazy story going on. Where I wanted to be more slavishly loyal to the source material, but tell a story there. So when you're going through Chill Penguin's stage and going through the caverns and, you know, all of that stuff, there is a whole narrative that could be told there. And, you know, the story with Chill Penguin, why did he betray the Maverick Hunters, you know, and all that stuff. Like there's a lot that could be told there and be able to flesh out those characters. And to me, that's very important because, you know, we celebrate so many of those robot masters and Mavericks, even though we only get to see them for a brief moment. Like something like a Quick Man, you know, like we play against him in one game. Yeah, he's going to be in, you know, Battle and Chase, and he might make little cameos here and there, but we only get him for a hot minute and then you blow him up and then that's it. And we never knew anything about him. Again, like I said, maybe Ruby Spears could flesh it out a little bit, but so to be able to go back and visit that, in my case, in the X series with the Mavericks, and be able to flesh out these characters and give them a little more story and history is a lot of fun. And then also to be able to, you could go back and now play that Chill Penguin stage, and now there's context to everything. And I'm a little obsessive with that. Maybe it comes from my Transformers background and how every character has a story and lore, and it's a giant civil war.
Right.
But it's like, I go into everything where it's like, hey, you're going to encounter that axe guy that hits the little wood, the mechanical wood pieces. And there's a little bit of a story, even if it's just for a couple panels, just to address it and bring some light to it and an extra layer instead of it just being a quick thing that happens and then you just keep moving on. And there's so much to tell there. And like again, I gave that pitch to them and they were like, oh yeah, let's do that. You know? So they were happy with that. And so there's a big canvas of things that could be done. And I wouldn't be lying if I said I have a whole bunch of text files of just ideas and everything for, if this isn't a promise, but if like a 5-year plan of this, you know what I mean? Nice. Let's just say I have a lot of ideas, you know? Let's put it this way, boss orders just in my mind, you know? Like, because you like, if you tell a Mega Man story, obviously you're doing boss orders, but how do you want to do the boss order that's more? And Mega Man X, there is a specific boss order that leads to stuff happening in levels. So
that's right.
That's all I'm going to say. Like, there's a logic to it. You know, if you're going to beat Chill Penguin, do you go to Spark Mandrill? And I'm not saying Spark Mandrill's next, but do you go to Spark Mandrill, or do you want to address Flame Mammoth and freeze over his area? Like, you know, there's ways to tell the story there, you know? So why does defeating Chill Penguin freeze over Flame Mammoth? There's a narrative there. Why does that happen? Why, when you beat Storm Eagle, all of a sudden his ship, the Revenger, is now inside Spark Mandrill's base? There's a story there that's never addressed. So I'm just saying, you know?
That would be really cool to see play out.
Yeah.
I also liked how you touched on like the reason behind the Mavericks betraying the Maverick Hunters, because as far as I know, like, I know Maverick Hunter X expanded on some of that, but the one Maverick that we know the most about is Storm Eagle, like how he rebelled against Sigma, but then Sigma kind of put him down, like, no, you're going to obey me.
Exactly.
So,
well, that's why everyone has their own reasoning. Like, anyone joins a war, you know, like some people it's a brainwashing, some people it's their own internal beliefs, some people it's, like you said, with Storm Eagle's subjugation, you know. So there's different backgrounds and different, and again, I mean, I'm just looking at my desk here, you know, here's Boomer Kawanger, you know, he's going to have his story and why he joined. And then you got good old Launch Octopus here. Again, you can tell I'm kind of crazy. I have all the little minifigs. You know, they all have their own reasonings for why they joined Sigma's rebellion in a lot of ways. So, and you want to be able to flesh that out, because what we had up to that point was a little bit of this. And, you know, again, the Maverick Hunter PSP game, you know, gave us a little bit of dialogue here and there, but wouldn't it be great if you had a 22-page comic book where you could really dive into those characters as much as you can and really explain their stories? Like, that's something that hopefully I'll get the opportunity to do, you know?
Yeah, I guess while we're on the topic, I did notice that on cover A, some of the Maverick designs, actually all of them, are based on Maverick Hunter X. How much did the PSP remake influence your story?
So Edwin Juan, who's an absolutely amazing artist, by the way. So if people are curious what the internal art style will be, it will be that cover A. Cover A for all the books represent the internal art styles of those books, more or less. Because the cover A's are always drawn by that artist, who's going to be the internal covers. So Edwin, when he was working on the book, we pulled a lot of inspiration from the Day of Sigma anime OVA. We wanted something that had that shine to it, because now you could see it in motion as an anime, and you could really like envision how you want to tell that story, and the locations and the Maverick Hunter base and the navigators that are in there, the background characters, you know, all those NPCs, all those regular, you know, crony Maverick Hunters that get in the way, for lack of better words. Good old green guy and his motorcycle. You know, one day he'll get his story told. Mark my words, if I ever get to there, oh, that story will be told.
Oh, everyone's waiting for that.
Oh yeah, well, again, if I don't want to sound like brag, but if I'm going to have the reins to do this stuff, I'm going to do the fans justice of what exists within to pull from. And it's something that, you know, we looked at Days of Sigma, and there just was a nice art style there that just worked. And those, again, when you're talking on the Japanese side of storytelling, mangas are always in black and white, so you don't really get to appreciate the coloring and variations and designs like that you do, like, let's say, with Western comics, where you have coloring and you have stuff like that. So shout out to Joshua Perez, who's the colorist on the book also. You know, it's something where we leaned more into that one, because it's something that transitions better to the comic book page. Kind of like in the same way, like if you look at X10 Sprite, he doesn't have his green, like actually, might as well pull it up here, his green little boobs. If you actually, like if you were slavishly loyal to the game in terms of the visuals, there's a lot of weird differences between the sprites and the portraits and the Inafune art styles and stuff. So that's why we had to really pick like one art style and ride with it. And I think that that one's probably the safest one because it just works with like storytelling. You know, we have a lot to pull from. You know, like we have like the front and back of Sigma. We have like all these animation models that you could pull from. The front and back of Storm Eagle, because Storm Eagle was in Day of Sigma, and so was Chill Penguin. So that helps a lot for the first book. So it kind of works. It kind of works, and it looks great. It looks great. Like it works where what you have to pull from the original source material, you have a portrait, a sprite, a piece of artwork, and I mean, I could get into the semantics of action figures, like again, little Keshigumus, where I could show you the back of Chill Penguin, but or even anyone knows this guy here from the hidden stages inside Launch Octopus, you know. But you know, there's something where there's only so much you could pull from, so you kind of have to pick where you like. It's the same thing. The navigators, when you'll read the book, when you see in the background, we picked navigators that were even like little Easter eggs in the background of other stuff, because you just, how do you build out that world? So you kind of have to pull from different things. So that's how we kind of settled on that art style for a long answer. But you know, you want to make something cohesive, but also celebrates it.
Exactly. On that note, we know how comics differ from film in ways where you have a limited amount of frames to communicate your story to the reader. But can you tell me some of the challenges you face while adapting the Mega Man X story to comic book form?
I literally, the way that I wrote this one, because I knew it was a one-shot, when you know you have an ongoing series, you could pace it a little different. When you know you have a one-shot and you know you have 21 to 22 pages, depending on advertising, you have to almost write backwards. Because you have, and writing backwards, you could tell me what it's going to be, but it's going to be the defeat of Chill Penguin, you know, and the Ice Shotgun getting acquired. But so you have to almost write backwards because you know you only have 21 to 22 pages to tell a story. And you want to get as much in as possible in that. Maverick Hunter base, going to the missile silo, which is where Chill Penguin's area is. It's actually an abandoned missile silo base from the old days of the wars, you know, and telling that story there. So you almost have to write backwards and then fill in a little bit in between. So the difficulty with one-shots is being able to tell as much as you can within the constraints of 21 to 22 pages, where when you know you have an ongoing, which I've had in the past with other stuff, you could kind of have a bigger story and then you could pace it. You could almost like, I know it sounds crazy, if it was like an ongoing, you could almost like spend half the issue just at the Maverick Hunter base, excuse me, and then the other half of the issue just the beginning of the Chill Penguin level, you know, up until finding a certain upgrade capsule, you know. So and then you could just end it on that. That'll be the cliffhanger, finding Dr. Light's capsule, you know. But because you don't have that breadth of pages, sometimes you have to squeeze a little bit. And who knows, maybe in the future, if we do get an ongoing, if sales are really good, we could revisit that and flesh it out on a bigger level, you know? So that's kind of one of the bigger issues that we would encounter.
So we established that this is Chill Penguin's stage in X1, basically for the story.
Yes.
And you mentioned the light capsule earlier. Where we see a cameo from that?
Like I said, I'm slavishly loyal to everything that transpires in that level. So needless to say, it's pretty much inevitable.
True.
Because from a narrative standpoint, how am I not going to write X getting all the armor pieces? I mean, I have a whole plan for that. Don't want to spoil, but I have a whole plan for that. So it's like, how does it not happen? So, and it's something where, once again, you know, you look at Days of Sigma and the interactions that happen between X and Dr. Light, and that's like all we've ever had in terms of like voice acting, and really, like, you know, again, we have video game interactions, but voice acting, and, you know, whether it be the dub or even the Japanese version, you could see the sincerity and how these two characters have as a relationship, where it's look, Mega Man X is a silent protagonist in the original series of Super Nintendo games, outside of a few little scenes here and there when he would talk with Zero and stuff. You know, you never really see much of his interactions with Dr. Light when he finds those capsules. He just finds the capsules, Dr. Light talks for a bit, you step in. That's it. So you don't really get to have this back and forth, almost father and son, and the relationship that they had, you know, creator to createe, you know. And I just wanted to be able to have that, because you see it in just a small little amount, and you see, and again, shout out to the guys who did Days of Sigma. You see it in the way they animate the X's eyes and his wonder, and there's so much there that's body language and written between the scenes that you could pull from, that you didn't have from 20 years of X games. So it's like, that's where, like, it's inevitable. He's going to be there. It's going to be an interaction. It's all going to be there. Again, I'm slavishly loyal to the source material. I don't, like, there will be stuff that'll be its own ideas, just to like have those characters there and have some fun, but also still staying in those environments and people being able to see those characters that they've always been looking forward to.
Yeah, I remember reading the synopsis for your book, and it says something along the lines of, like, how will X's worldview change when he discovers what he's really fighting for? That part really excites me.
Well, it's the defining character trait of X has always been doubt. Mm-hmm. It's always been, why do I have this X Buster on my arm? Like, why am I supposed to be this character of unlimited potential, but I also have this device of destruction? You know, there's this dichotomy of existence that he has that has always been his internal conflict, where then it's almost like you look at Zero and it's like, here I am supposed to be also a thing of good, but my entire origin is based in destruction and death, you know? So that's why the X series has always been really fascinating, in that a lot of these characters have their own demons that they have to deal with. And X is just one of those characters that, again, if the book sells really well and we could go into an ongoing or something, I would love to explore that a lot. And just within the confines of the first game, because again, if you know those games, I don't want to like spoil for the people who never played X1, shame on you, but you know, it's something where there's so much that you could tell just there with those not robot masters, with those Mavericks, and the encounters with Vile, and then of course, you know, with Sigma. There's a lot of character development and story that could be told there, and his own doubts. I mean, the end of X1, just standing on that mountain as Sigma's fortress is going into the ocean, and that whole internal monologue, that's a whole story, you know, like there's so much that you could pull from there and tell. And X is a conflicted character, and he would be a conflicted character the entire run of the X video game series, even going into Command Mission, which is canonically the last one. So it's something that I just want to explore even more. And being able to do it in a comic book is the best way, outside of an anime, of course. But anything that could be fiction, you know?
Yeah, that's what I'm really looking forward to about this, is because we've gotten a lot of exposition on the origin story of Mega Man X through the Day of Sigma, as well as the Archie comics even. But your book is going to get into, like, the meat and potatoes of the actual game.
Oh gosh, that is, like I said, there is just text files of stuff written up that's all like, here we go, you know,
right?
Here we go. If given the opportunity on sales, here we go. You know, like, trust me, that is the elephant in the room. That is the flame mammoth in the room. No pun intended. of yeah, we want to tell those stories, you know, we really want to tell those stories. Everything's gonna have to be approved by Capcom. Pitches have already been done. If future stuff does happen, and those have been approved of let's say the next couple issues, if we get to do it. I don't want to make any promises if there will be other books, but if that does happen, we're already prepared for it, you know? Because the comic book industry is a very quick industry. That's the good thing, as opposed to animation or video games. Turnaround is a lot quicker. So you're able to put out books on a monthly basis or a weekly basis or something, depending on your format. So it's something that if the thumbs up happens, hey, this book sold well, we want to do more, we'll definitely make that happen, you know, for sure. It's rumbling inside me, you know. But yeah.
So there's one part about the story synopsis I wanted to ask you about. So in the original Mega Man X game's lore, Zero was mostly off-screen trying to locate Sigma, while X was dealing with the 8 Mavericks. But the story synopsis mentioned that Zero would be working with X this time around. Could you talk about your decision regarding that?
So that was actually a request by Capcom. They want, because they know it's a one-shot, right? So think about it. Let's say this is the only book we're ever going to get. It doesn't. Let's say it doesn't sell well for whatever reason. You know, it's the one X book we're putting out. You got to have Zero in it. So how would you not? You know, like it. So it's something where we decided that yes, in the original games they kind of split up and do their things. In the grand scheme of things, I probably would still do what I did, at least for the first one. They do still, I don't want to spoil too much, they do still split up. But Zero is there, but he kind of goes left and Mega Man goes right at Chill Penguin stage. It's just more, we wanted to work in Zero in as many panels as possible, only because we just want to have Zero in the book.
That's fair.
Because again, how do you do an X book and not have Zero? Like, people would riot, you know? That's
true.
So, I mean, yes, Zero's going to get his own book later, but original Zero, round shoulder Zero, you know, X1 Zero. It's just something where we wanted to work him into the book as much as possible. So there's a way to put him in there, but still not ruin what the game did, where Mega Man is still doing his own journey through the level. So that's all I'm going to say there, is that they do split up, but then they meet back at the end. He's doing his thing, and my plan with Zero going forward is I'm tempted to, don't take my word for it, but there's certain Mavericks, I want Zero be the one that fights them and not X. Like, there's almost something like, because there's, I don't want to spoil it, but I have there's things in my brains from a cinematography level that Zero fighting, I'll just spoil this one, Zero fighting Sting Chameleon who's hiding. There's a lot of fun that there is to write there.
That could be interesting.
You know what I mean? Like a Predator versus Arnold Schwarzenegger, stealth versus, you know, Ultimate Fighter. There's a story to tell that I rather X be off getting a capsule while Zero does that. You know what I mean? Think of Sting Chameleon stage. X, you go get the capsule. I'm going to take care of this Maverick. Again, they still split off. But he's going to, that's all I'm going to say for that, if that gets to happen. And I'll give you that little tidbit.
Yeah, Zero versus Sting Chameleon, X versus Boob Eyes, as one of my friends calls him.
Yeah. Oh, well, there's a story with that guy. Oh, that's already written. Trust me, this is like, in my brain, this is like a 5-year plan, if needed, of X games and stories and stuff. You know, there's text files of all right, here's the boss orders, and here's how we're going to tell that boss order story. And, you know, sometimes you have to backtrack for capsules. So how do we do that? How do you, there's all of that there, you know? So Hadouken, that's all I'm going to say. You know, there's a lot there.
Yeah,
that's all I'm going to say there. A lot of exciting stuff.
About Zero, though. So this was a burning question that came up when one of the variant covers was revealed, and we saw the X2 and onward version of Zero with his Z-Saber. But as we know, he has a different armor design. He doesn't have the Z-Saber yet. He's rocking the Buster, as you see on the shirt there.
Yeah.
I guess a lot of people just want to know, will we see that X1 version of Zero in the comic itself?
So essentially, and this is an UDON thing in general, UDON, like I said before, cover A for all the books truly represent the book. Cover B, C, D, all of that. And you see this with Udon with their Street Fighter books and their Darkstalker books and all their other Capcom brand books. That's more just artists having fun. Like, again, my name's Protoman. There's a X cover book that has Protoman on the cover. You know? That's just them having fun. It's all the other covers are just, hey, let's have fun with these variants, you know? So you'll have X2 shoulder, Z Saber. You'll have like again I don't want to spoil, but other covers that represent other parts of Mega Man X lineage that don't make sense for the book. It doesn't, you know, like so. And you're gonna see that with the others too. Like the if you look at the Mega Man, I don't want to spoil the Mega Man book, but if you look at the Mega Man book, don't let the other covers represent what you think is going to be inside. That's just more them having fun with the other covers. With Udon, cover A represents the inside. Cover B, C, D, E, F, G, if they go that far, are more just canvases to have fun and draw something. Do something different. At the end of the day, it's a variant cover. It's a variant idea, but it doesn't represent the internal stuff. It's like I said before, for my book, with Edwin and Josh Perez, just look at that cover A. That's the artistic art style. That's the vibe. And that's what you're going to be getting. And then all the others are just having fun, you know, giving you cool variations. To quote Matt Moylan, Matt always said, who's one of the editors and head dudes at Udon, he said that people love to own art in different ways. And some people just love to own art on a comic cover. It's just one way to own it. And that's why people love variants, because it's the same story in every book, but it's different covers of art. And some people just like to have different kinds of art, and that gives them a good canvas to tell different micro stories in those covers for fun. Like, again, I think it's the retail cover D, which has all the side Mega Man guys. So you have Zero, but you have Protoman, but you have Axel, but you have Bass. You know, you have a nice mix of other guys that don't make sense in an X book. Like, why is that on an X cover? But just to have fun. And you're going to see that also with some of, like, say, the web exclusive covers, when you're going to like look at, we'll have these conversations later on with my coworkers with the other books, and you're going to see stuff on those covers and people are going to be like, oh my God, is it going to have XYZ in it? Maybe not. You know, it's more just, they want to just put that guy there. You know, if you're doing a Legends story and you put, like, let's say some of the Legends 2 guys in there, it's more just, it's going to be, and I'm not saying what the Legends book will be about, but if it's, let's say it's based in a time of the first game, but the other covers want to feature some of the characters from the second game, just to have them there and drawn for fun, you know, just so people, again, all of this is to celebrate the Mega Man brand more than anything, going across the history of it, celebrating the brand, celebrating all the colorful characters. And but again, my book, slavishly loyal. If there is a eye color that is out of sync, I'm going to make sure that's fixed. You know, like, trust me, every step of the way, I'm paying attention to everything and being because again, I come from that world there too with Transformers, where, you know, Optimus Prime can't have green antennas. You know, he can't have like a purple gun. It's the ion blaster that's black. It's the blue eyes on every Autobot, with a few exceptions. You know, it's that kind of loyalty to that stuff, and I want to bring that to Mega Man, which is one of my biggest passions also. So, for sure.
Yeah, that's also really great to hear that you're so loyal to the source material. Like, that's all you can really ask for with this sort of thing. So just going on to looking toward the future here, what can we expect to see in terms of Mega Man X timelines in the future, assuming this one-shot does well?
Well, the plan is, and it's kind of like a no-brainer. A lot of people kind of guess this. This is a way for Udon to milk what the fans want. Here's 5 books, 5 different worlds. Tell us which ones you want the best with your wallet. You know, if the original series book sells hand over fist, guess what? That probably means more people want more of that. If the Legends book sells hand over fist, clearly more people want more of that. if my book sells great, clearly people want more of that. So they're definitely also using this as a way to gauge, what do you guys want? What do you want more of? You know? And like anything in life, whatever sells well, you'll get more of it. That applies to video games or anything, you know? So right now it's, like I said, they're all one-shot stories with 1 or 2 little Easter eggs that connect it all together, that don't affect the story, but it's there if you look for it. And they're all just kind of individual, so you could just pick up just the Legends book and enjoy it for what it is if that's the only thing you care about. But at the same time, we want to see how well this does. If there is gas in the tank, we're going to ride that car, you know? So that's the thing where I heavily suggest to people, as a public service announcement, if you are interested in these books, please support them. Don't be an individual. It's like, oh, I'm going to download it for free off the internet and bootleg it or something. Support the books. You know, the comic book industry always needs the help. And it's the only way that they're able to gauge how they're able to know if these books are popular or not. I would hate it when I see huge amount of fandoms speculating and loving a comic book, and then you find out that it has 0 sales, and you go, what's going on here? It's because people weren't buying the books. They were just sharing it, for lack of better words, you know, on the pirate seas. Where it's something where support the book, go to your local comic book shop and support your local comic book shop, pick it up, pre-order it. Pre-orders are, for my book, pre-orders are open right now. Go to your local comic book shop, Preview Magazine and everything like that. They have it there. Just go up to your comic book store owner and go, I'd like to pre-order and put my pull-bin Mega Man X Timelines issue #1. You could ask for specific covers because there's multiple covers. So you could say, I want cover A, B, C, D, whatever. That's how you support the book. The pre-orders, if I remember correctly, don't quote me on it, but I believe they close 2 days or a day after Free Comic Book Day. So that's going to be either May 5th or 6th. So try to get it in as soon as possible, because those pre-order numbers help us gauge and know what we should do in the future. You know, you vote with your wallet. That's the reality of life. And so being able to know how well these books will do will help us know to decide what to do next. And that's kind of like the plan right now, is to run through those individual books, gauge interest, and then the next step will come from that, you know, because that's like a plan all the way to September. So, and we're talking San Diego Comic-Con in between that, and meet and greets with the fans and stuff. So we got a whole like schedule of stuff over the next couple of months of Mega Man, and we just hope that the fans show up and support it, because that's how it survived. You know, if a Mega Man game comes out and no one buys it, no one's allowed to complain that why is there no Mega Man stuff? Well, if you didn't buy it, you know, like, you have to support it. You have to.
Yeah, we had that discussion all the time in the Mega Man community. Like, you know, why doesn't Capcom do more Mega Man games? Well,
if you don't show up,
yep.
You know, that's the reality. They're gonna give you more Resident Evils because that's selling. You know,
Exactly.
That's the reality. They're gonna go to Monster Hunter. You know, if that's selling hand over fist over, you know, jump and shoot Lemon Man. You know, so like, that's the way that they look at it. They're businesses at the end of the day. Yes, they love their IPs and they care about them, and they're you know, Mega Man's super important to, you know, Capcom's history, but so was 1942, the shooter. That was part of Capcom's history. We're not talking about our 1942 remaster upgrades, you know, or comic books or anime series, because it doesn't sell today. So it's something that it has to sell in order for them to continue. So if you have a passion for it, you got to support it. You have to. Otherwise, there won't be more. I don't want to sound like I'm begging, but it's like, that's the only way. It's the simple, sweet science of capitalism, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's unfortunate truth to the business side of things. And those pre-orders for the Mega Man X #1 comic is coming up really soon. So if you're interested, you should really get in on that. And I understand there's also Mega Man Timelines #0 coming out on Free Comic Book Day. So,
Yes.
You know, while you're there getting that, may as well get in your pre-orders at the same time.
Go to freecomicbookday.com. they have a store locator button where if you don't know where your local comic book store is that's participating, or if you just want to find a local comic book store to begin with, freecomicbookday.com has a store locator on their app and on their website. And then you'll be able to find a store, go pick up your free Mega Man book from UDON, and then talk to the owner and go, hey, by the way, I'm interested in opening a pull bin and picking up some Mega Man comics, because now there's a slew of Mega Man comics that are going to be coming over the next couple of months. And then they literally have, I wish I had it next to me, silly me, I should have brought it, but they have preview guide, which is what the comic book stores order from. And then you could tell them, I want cover A, B, C, D, I want this one, then, and then they do it for you. And then just make sure to go pick up your books when they arrive. That's all. Which for mine, it's going to be June 18th, 2025. That's the official date for when the book drops.
Nice.
New Comic Book Wednesday on June 18th, 2025 for Mega Man X timelines. So,
yeah,
and then all the others will have the info for those as those come. Because right now we have original series coming very soon, and then we're going to have X in June, and then, like I said, every month after that is a new series going all the way to September.
Awesome. And just in general about the future of UDON's Mega Man comics, what else can you share about that?
Not much right now of the nitty gritty behind the scenes, but there, like, again, the one thing, if people have been really paying attention, UDON's really good about trying to give people a variety, because it's not even just these books that I'm talking about. You got the Mr. Mega Man books, you got like all the other spin-off manga stuff that they're importing, obviously Ariga's translations of his stuff that was done in manga tome format. So they're always looking for new opportunities and new Mega Man stuff that has never been translated before to be done. Obviously, you guys have already heard about the mention of bringing over the Archie stuff and having that collected, because the funny thing with that was there was plans back when Archie still had the 100% rights to it. There was plans to do a good collection of all the Archie books, and that pre-order went on Amazon 17 years ago. I don't remember what it was. It was a long time ago, and that pre-order just sat there forever, and that book never happened. And so UDON's looking into that stuff and, bringing back some of those old books. I'll leave it to Matt and the editors and everything to kind of flesh that out more, because that's not my division. But they have plan, again, not just that, but like they're looking at everything, because there's a fandom there, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that the Western market just never got. Mega Man's a Japanese brand. There's Mega Man games we never got. Still to this very day, mobile games, board games and all kinds of stuff, and let alone, like, we never got Rockman board in English, So it's like, there's so much Japanese content that we never got to experience, that given the opportunity and the people willing to show up, if it's printed or made, they'll take advantage of that, and we see that, like, look how UDON handles the Street Fighter brand, and it's the same thing, taking all those manga stories that were never translated and all those different little things and all the materials and metal pins and all kinds of stuff and trading cards. Like, if you're a Mega Man fan, you got to join Team UDON and get in on everything that they're doing, because they're keeping that brand alive even if there is no new game. There still will be fiction, there still will be stories, there still will be trading cards, t-shirts, and other things to keep it alive until the next game comes out.
Yeah, one thing I'm looking forward to, if they continue it, I know the Mega Man X Mega Missions book got delayed a lot.
Yeah.
Really would like to see an English translation for that one, if they decide to continue it.
That is the prime example of supplemental material exclusive to Japan that finally will be brought here, if could be, and again, it's only if people are willing to show up and get it, like if
Right.
there is interest, then it'll be done, otherwise it just lavishes, forever in obscurity. at most being fan translated on a blog, you know, like and you want to have something physical in your hand, a nice beautiful book that you could go through and have all those stories. And there's a lot of fun in those Mega Mission ones. Like that's like its own story and side continuity of wackiness, you know. But that's again, and like all the trading cards that the X series stuff had from Cardass back in the day, and all the individual stories that are written on those. Imagine getting art books of all of that, like, because again, Udon does a lot of art books too. And I mean, their recent one that they did with the X Dive collection was fantastic. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Because that's a mobile game that leans very heavily on all these different skins and different art styles. And to have that all in one place, you know, like Udon's really good with that. Again, if you're a Mega Man fan, you got to be paying attention to everything they're putting up on their website every day and on their social medias, because they're trying to just find everything and anything that Japan got and give it to the Western audience that we were never able to taste, you know, not even see, you know, let alone get it in English and stuff. So it's something that I just hope that people show up, and then we could do more of it. Success leads to more. Yeah.
I believe Udon has another art book coming out with Legends, ZX, and Mega Man 11.
Yes. Yeah. That's on its way. Again, I'm not working on it, so I can't give you the details, but I do know that is coming. Yes. Mm-hmm. I'm a fan just like you guys. Nope. Like, no joke. I could show you my Mega Man Udon book collection. Those came out of my own pocket. Like, I'm no different than you guys. All those books, like all those interviews with Inafune-san and all the other crew, like all of those things, I'm a huge fan too. Those Maverick guide books and everything, the art books, like all that great stuff. It's fantastic. And again, the fact that Udon really curated together a group of talented people and fans who really know the material, something really good is going to come out of it ultimately in the end. And I'm really confident in the people that we have, you know. I know some people are a little like, oh, I hope the art's good. Yeah, art is very important. But the storytelling is just as important, in my opinion, because Todd McFarlane, creator of Spawn and Venom and stuff, he said it the best. It's like, you know, a lot of times people have no problem buying a book that's drawn by Leonardo da Vinci, but the story could be written by a 5-year-old. But a lot of times it's really hard to read a book that's drawn by a 5-year-old and written by Leonardo da Vinci. Meaning, like, sometimes art really does carry a book, and I understand that. But at the same time, you need to have a good story, because that's what keeps people coming back. Pretty to look at, but you want to keep buying those issues to keep continuing that story and knowing what's going to happen next. And we love these characters, and these characters have great stories to be told. So we want to continue doing that, you know?
Yep.
So hopefully we can.
Yeah, there's a lot of folks out there that are like, why do you care about the Mega Man lore? It's just, you know, there's not much to go off from the games, but like you said, there's just so much that can be expanded on.
There's a lot there. There is so much that if you read between the lines, there is so much there. And again, by having 5 different franchises, and imagine if each one of those books really fire off and they could all be their own going forward, and then having like a Legends book that's continuing that story, and having an X book that's continuing that story, and having an original, then they're going to be eating their sock, you know, because then you're going to have plenty to pull from, much like what the Archie's books gave, you know. People could have their feelings of the Archie's books front or back, but it did give us new characters and new ways to tell those stories, you know?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was one way to, like, how do you explain the origin of Protoman? How do you explain the Mega Man 3 story? You know, yeah, okay, it would jump in once in a while with the crossovers with Sonic and stuff, and that would kind of derail it. Mm-hmm. But, you know, when you were just focusing straight up on telling those original series stories, it was the one and only time really outside of the Japanese mangas that did it, that stepped up to the plate and did it. And hopefully we'll be able again to do that for many years to come.
Yeah, I really liked the way that the Archie Comics handled Protoman's story in particular. I thought that was extremely well done.
Some things I would have changed a little. I like the general of it.
Yeah.
But if given the opportunity, No, I'm just saying if my namesake and I get an opportunity to write that book, it'll have some similarities, but also some differences, because there's some stuff that was in the games. Specifically, if you look at power battles and power fighters and stuff, and there's little things here and there that I feel could have been integrated a little better and tweaked in. Not to mention when those books were being written, we didn't have, I think at the time, Mega Man 10, if I remember. No, I think 10 was already out at that point.
I think,
but there was little things here and there that could be added that kind of flesh out. You can tell I obsess a little bit about Protoman specifically. So, but I think that there's stuff that could be added there. We'll see. We'll see. Time will tell. Time will tell.
If you ever got a chance, would you do a Protoman story?
200%. Let's just say the request has been put in. If we get a Mega Man Protoman one shot or something or whatever, I will literally like be at the front door of the office going like, it's me or nothing, you know, like, because that is something that I feel like I probably would know more than anybody. I don't want to brag, but it's like I've obsessed over that, you know, like that's my favorite character. It's my favorite guy. I'll send you some images just to post on the screen when we have this, I guess, played on YouTube, of just my Protoman shrine, you know, of my collection. And they'll see like, yeah, he's a little crazy, this Daniel guy. Yeah. So, but yeah, you'll see. It's that's something I feel I would love to do one day if the property. I'm not trying to derail what they have planned right now, but if ever like a little side prequel book happens, you know, that'd be really cool to do.
Oh, that's true. Like his origins is something that hasn't been super explored yet. It's
all of that sweet, yeah, all of that stuff that is just it's what YouTube videos are made out of, theory videos, speculation, like it's all those stories that we want to know. Ever since we got that X4 Wily silhouette in Zero's Dream, we went off to the races and we never went back since, you know?
Yeah.
And we're just like, what is that? What is this? Oh, what happened? What happened in between? Oh my God, you know? Like, it's like, and then we went over 30 years of, oh, is it this? Is it that? Is, you know, like, what happened? To finally be able to tell some of those stories would be a dream come true for all of us, you know, and for the fans too, to finally have it. So, and by the way, all of this is approved by Capcom. So, you know, we don't get to do anything unless Capcom goes okay. So that's very important too.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to what Udon is cooking. And Daniel, I really want to thank you for coming on and talking to me today.
No problem, man.
Is there anything else you want to tell the fans out there before we sign off?
I guess might as well plug the socials. Might as well. I'm Protoman on Twitter. Like literally, I got Protoman on Twitter. That shows how early I was on Twitter to get that locked in. I'm Protoman on Twitter. I have Protoman Gaming on Instagram. Didn't get lucky there. It's just me mostly posting my Transformer stuff and everything, because I run a Transformer podcast where we cover what's happening in that world and the news and stuff, and stuff that I work on creatively with that too. I post toy stuff because I love my toys. I love my robots. I'll post Mega Man toys and Transformer toys and everything. So Protoman on Twitter, Protoman Gaming on Instagram. Again, be sure to pick up the Mega Man books. Free Comic Book Day is next Saturday, May 3rd. So when you go to pick up the free Mega Man comic, try to get your pre-orders in for original series, and for at the moment for X is also up for pre-order. Zero, ZX, and Legends are not up for pre-order yet. Those will come when those come. Check out. I'll give a shout out to you. Go check out. You know, your YouTube channel will probably have the news for it when it drops. And of course, Brian with Proto Dude and Rockman Corner, you know, he'll probably have the news too when those drop, just so you guys could be up to date with when those pre-orders will happen. And then you go to your local comic store. So to remind people, June 18th, 2025, Wednesday will be when the Mega Man X book drops. But what really helps the sales is when you do pre-orders, because pre-orders tell the companies, oh, we want this, you know? Where if you go to a comic store to pick it up in person, that's great too, but that's more based on what the comic store was going to take a guess. And if they only buy like 5 books and those 5 books sell out, you're out of luck. But failing that, I know that UDON is really good with putting them up on their website, but it's usually more after the fact, like after the pre-order window is closed. So, and I don't want to make promises on when that'll be and how soon. So that's plan Z for you, let's put it. But to help the book the best, pre-order, and failing that, if somehow that doesn't happen, you'll have to wait for when it shows up on their website, which has a lot of other great stuff too. If you want to pick up trading cards and everything too, a lot of cool stuff there. I hope that answers it more or less.
I know I have some more Mega news to do because I know the Mega Man Zero synopsis just came out. So
yeah, because the next preview is going to be dropping soon for next month. So then you'll get to see the covers for that. I think they're already, are they public? I don't remember. I don't know what's public and what isn't. So I don't want. So either way, I'll just say it's not public because I'm not too sure. But so when those will be out soon, and then you'll get to see the covers for those, and you'll get the synopsis, and you'll know who did those covers and everything. But again, reminder, cover A always reflects what you're getting, more or less.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Cover B and C might, but also sometimes it might just be more them having fun. Because I know for my book and for the original series, they're more just having fun, And it's always fun. Those are great brands.
All right. Well, it's been really fun talking to you today. And we'll be sure to put your socials down in the description, as well as information on the pre-orders and all that, so people can check it out. As for ShadowRockZX here, stay tuned for more on Mega Man and all sorts of stuff like that. And again, Daniel, thank you so much for coming on here today. Really appreciate you talking to us about everything. It's really cleared up a lot of things that will be helpful to me as well. Of course, to everyone else out there. And guys, until the next one, rock on.